You're watching the polls on the JoyNews channel. This afternoon, pressure is mounting on leadership of the National Democratic Congress to call off its presidential primaries scheduled for this weekend. As former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor points out what he describes as some discrepancies in the party's voters register. Will definitely be engaging leadership of the party as Dr. Duffuor's team presents what they call a better and further particular to back the claims they are making. Also in this package for you, we'll bring you the harrowing story of a pensioner bondholder who has resorted to anxiety pills to manage her panic attacks from the trauma of an investment gone bad.
This one, I'll have a heart attack or stroke, I will die. Already I'm taking diazepam. Is it right to sleep at night because I have panic attack? My heart to start poop, 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 like this. Then I have to hit my chest. Then I take my diazepam. Is this right?
We have more for you on this harrowing story. There's also more as the pensioners end day 2 of their picketing at the Finance Ministry. We'll be getting you some updates on that. Also, Ghana Water Company is disconnecting water supply to Guinea's Ghana Breweries Limited over some 6.7 million Ghana cedis indebtedness. How did this happen and what are the details? We'll get that from you. Plus, hear the perspective of the Water Company Limited as it intensifies its revenue mobilization measures. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Digny Lu. We're on DSTV and GoTV channels. Don't forget that we are JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible. My name is Blessed. I'll get you the details shortly, starting with the National Democratic Congress. Please stay. And we are indeed your election headquarters. We're building up to the NDC's primaries, but leadership of the party is coming under intense pressure to call off its presidential primaries and in some cases the parliamentary race scheduled for this weekend. First, at the presidential level, the former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor is raising some concerns and stating his case as to why he believes that the party cannot proceed with the internal contest. So let's get to it. Of course, my colleague joining us from the political desk, Kweku Asante, and parliamentary correspondent, is joining us on this conversation. And Kweku, let's start off by looking at the main concerns Dr. Duffuor is raising. He's asking for the polls to be put on hold, first of all. Why?
Indeed, they catalogue about 8 key reasons why they believe that if the election should go ahead on Saturday, it will be flawed. So yesterday, leader of their campaign team put out a press statement insisting that the NDC must postpone this. They first start off with what they say is that 54% of delegates in the photo album identities are yet to be validated. That is huge. If you look at the NDC's delegates, and they say that 54%, that is more than half of these persons are yet to be validated.
Potentially, we're looking at over 17,000 individuals who have the capacity to determine the votes outrightly. Exactly. Because all you need is 50% plus one to get the new winner.
You become the winner. And so if you look at that, and then Dr. Duffuor's team is saying that 54% of these persons have not been validated, and that is very key. They also talk about 28% of delegates in the exceptions list with no information. We know that even in the national election, there are the exceptions list where persons are put there because of varied reasons. They say that these 28% of delegates who have been put there, there are no reasons, there are no information why these persons have been put in that category, for which reason they are standing on this to also make that demand that this election must be postponed. They also say that 2% of names were additionally added to the register. The percentage can be higher after identities have been verified. This is a very huge claim. They are claiming that if you look at the number of persons who are eligible to vote on Saturday, 2% of that number have been added, and they actually been added to the register without the attention of Team Duffuor.
And their claim is that there's no connection of these individuals to any of the executive slots within the party.
Exactly. And so they've been doing some comprehensive audit of a sort to try and find out if these persons whose names are on the register are actually party branch executives, among other things. They also allege that 26% of delegates are missing from the register. So these are persons that Dr. Duffuor potentially feel will vote for him. 26% of these persons their names have been deleted from that is the allegation they make. They also talk about duplicated photos, duplicated voters ID, unidentified persons added to the register. 46% of the register cannot be validated with the correct voter ID. And they proceed to provide some further and better particulars. They talk about this branch executive at the ADJSSA Agona Ediakwa. And it's the same person, but they've given the person 2 different branches and 2 different positions.
And as you see in the next slide, they've made some attempts at comparing the faces and individuals they are talking about. So they, for instance, and you'll be having on the screen shortly, they put out the names of these persons. There you have it. Of the, just to point out the kind of duplications of identities that are going on within, supposedly within the register.
Exactly. If you look at what
we must point out that this is entirely the position of the Dufour campaign. Nothing to do with what the party has to say.
Indeed, the party have actually disputed some of the claims, and Mr. Bande will join you shortly, and then you get into the specifics. This, what I'm seeing is Mohammed Isaka. At one polling station, he's the youth organizer. At another polling station, he's the communication officer. Although the sex, the party ID, the age are all the same. And so clear issues there. They talk about duplicated photos, duplicated voters ID. You look at one person with different ID numbers and then different ages, the positions are different. So they look at the primary school at Ajiro BC. This is a person whose voters ID in one form of the register is different, and in another, the name is different. Akogo James is here. The next time, he is Apala Atinga Legbia, and then here is Isaac Yani, here is Alfred Suba. The last one I have is the male names, female pictures. There are persons who are males.
Yeah, but there's a question on my mind now as to how the Dufour campaign secured all of this when earlier they make the claims that, look, we don't have the party album. So are they dealing with the exact documents the party is also working with?
Exactly, and those are key questions that the team Dufour have to offer and answer for, because this register is in the exclusive domain of the party. If we have anything and then you have concerns about them, maybe first you have to conduct a forensic audit to verify if that is the same thing that the party will be using on Saturday. And so that is what the party will have to do. So how
did they secure this?
Well, they've not been putting out clearly how they've been doing it. But the information we are picking is they've been going to the various branches, picking up the various registers, and then amalgamating them, and then sort of putting everything together. So
what they do is to move to every constituency they can get hold of in terms of their party album, and then make use of that. And so officially they don't have it, but they've been able to constitute a number of these from the respective parties. And so this is the leg they stand on to make the claim that if the NDC goes ahead with the presidential primaries on Saturday, the election will be flawed. The NDC will not have a good leg to stand on to make any claims about national elections. Koko Asante, we have a lot more coming up, because for the Ashanti region, delegates in Menchia South constituency are preparing what's likely to be an injunction to stop the upcoming parliamentary primaries in that part of the country. It follows the exemption of the constituency from the election over claims of some flawed delegates register at that constituency level. Nana Yaujima has been following up on that story for us.
NDC executives from some 107 branches of the party in the Menchia South constituency have gone through the necessary processes to participate in the election as delegates. This, they say, grants them the opportunity to vote in the election.
These delegates bought their forms, paid their approved dues for 3 months, and met the conditions of being a member for 4 years and counting before the last membership registration. God will bless you for that. Members were adequately vetted by Dr. Mrs. Mary Ewusi, then Deputy Women's Organizer, and Mr. Solomon Anane as the regional representative. 4. These branch elected executives were subsequently sworn in as branch leaders and delegates of the party by these individuals. We, the leaders of all the branches, would like to inform the National Executive Committee and the Functional Executive Committee to speak up and caution individuals aforementioned and call for the removal of the suspension of the branch executive that barred these delegates to partake in the 13th May exercise within 48 hours.
The concerned members are calling on the party executives to revoke their exemption from the upcoming election. Krofrom CPC coordinator Daniel Pia says they will seek legal redress if the issues are not addressed immediately.
We would like to seek injunction to halt the activity, especially the Ashanti regional election. The primaries, we want to halt the Ashanti regional election. So that's our main intention for now. Because we will not sit down there and wait until 13th of May before anything. So we are preparing ourselves legally alongside with the issuance of this press release.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
How, of course, we start this conversation. Mustafa Foyogbande is the Deputy General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, is joining us in studio to have a conversation on this. And Mustafa, you agree that tough times for you. You are going into a race to reorganize your party, and yet the divisions and signs are beginning to emerge. Let's start off with what's happening, first of all, at the constituency level before we talk about the presidential.
Yeah.
These group of individuals say you are excluding them from participating in the exercise, so they may halt it through the courts.
Well, let me thank you for having me in the first place, and let me set the records that there's no pressure on the NDC leadership too. There's no division in the NDC. However, as leadership, we would be confronted with challenges, and those challenges will be addressed, because individuals who are raising them are members of the party, and they should have audience with leadership as and when they have some challenges. We believe that we are in a position to offer such guidance and such assistance. And so, as part of what is normal in leadership, we'll cross this bridge successfully.
What's peculiar about what's happening in the Ashanti region? This Menchia South that we've seen, where lies the challenge, really? Why not allow them to be a part of the exercise?
Okay, so with regards to Menchia South, we've been having this conversation back and forth. Some of us felt that we could proceed with the elections. However, you meet different factions coming from the same constituency, some claiming that only about 17 branches took part in the election of their constituency executives, which presuppose that out of about 97 branches, the rest didn't take part. There are other people who are claiming that at the time they were going for the constituency elections, they didn't have executives in place. You know, the Ashanti region is traditionally an MPP stronghold. So sometimes it's even difficult having people legitimately to fill in some places. And so we then decided that, okay, we cannot proceed on fundamental issues of legitimacy of these individuals who may be partaking in the national election. And so if that's the case, then we're going to bar them from participating in the election. Don't forget that about 15 constituencies are not going to partake in their parliamentary elections, but they will be part of the presidential voting. And so I don't see where and what went wrong in Menchia South, where press conferences have to be coming out. But I believe that the leadership in Ashanti region would give our young men who have held this press conference some audience and address them.
But what's going to be the implication? That they will totally miss out on this weekend's reorganization?
The implication is that they will not be part of the presidential election, particularly when issues has to do with how branch executives were elected. Then you wouldn't want to allow those individuals to partake in a national election, which, you know, until you are able to authenticate the legitimacy of those membership, you cannot allow them to have or to participate in the election. So we've actually taken a decision that they will not be part of the presidential voting. But when we finish with the presidential voting, we will go there and correct the anomalies, and then we can have their
Yes, but that would mean that their concerns will not be involved in the election or selection of the next set of individuals who represent them at the parliamentary level and at the presidential level. Are you not mindful of what's at stake?
What is more critical is allowing the wrong person to go and participate in election. You know, we don't have, it's not everybody that will vote in any case. So we have some people who may not show up at all. They are members of the NDC. And so in cases where you have the same people having factions, you know, putting up arguments against the legitimacy of their own people, then you cannot allow them to proceed until you're able to resolve those issues. Just as we've seen a faction holding up a press conference and they are talking about you trying to impose somebody, they are talking about, so it's all the politics of parliamentary aspirants. It has nothing to do with presidential.
But it appears to be an Ashanti region problem, is it fair to say? Because we're seeing a number of constituencies there equally not participating in the entire exercise. Is the NDC having challenges organizing the election in the Ashanti region?
Not at all.
Because you have some other constituencies that may
What
not
has happened in the past is that we've had situations where you find MPP members you know, personating or being executives of the NDC, or you cannot have, you have few people, they will sit in a corner and claim that they are executives to a particular constituency, but it does not exist. Last year, leadership took a decision, you know, established a task force made up of members of parliament who descended into Ashanti region and organized the party properly there. And so all these that we are seeing are, you know, things that will come up to expose the inefficiencies in the system. And so this is just one of the constituencies where we have this particular issue at that place. Now, Ashanti region is a very special region for the NDC going into 2024. And we believe that there are some seats that we can win in Ashanti region if we organize properly. And properly so, we've taken strategic decisions to, as it were, consolidate all our efforts there, resolve some of the issues that are likely to affect our chances, so that by the time we are ready to hold our parliamentary elections, we know where we are heading to. Because mind you that the focus in Ashanti region is about floating voter, or is about increasing our voter margins, and also getting some parliamentary seats there. That is the focus in Ashanti region. And so these constituencies that are not partaking are very special constituencies that we have to hold them on for strategic, political and administrative reasons. I'm sure that once we are done with the Saturday election, we'll then do a second phase of the parliamentary process too.
Okay, so in all, how many constituencies may not, I mean, and I'm speaking nationally, how many constituencies may not partake in the exercise?
We have all constituencies minus 15.
Okay.
Minus 15 constituencies.
So 15 will be on hold?
15 will be on hold.
Their parliamentary exercises will be
on hold, but they will participate in the presidential.
But who makes up then for their presidential? Because you want to have a national leader.
Yeah, they will be part of the presidential voting. But except that, unlike other places where they are voting for parliamentary candidates and voting for presidential candidates, they would vote for only presidential candidates, but their parliamentary elections have been postponed and will be held at a determined date in the future after this process on Saturday. So they will participate in the two, but for now, they will participate only in the presidential voting. Then after 13th, after we had finished with our strategy, we'll then open nominations for those constituencies, vet the candidates, and then they will do their parliamentary elections. So what that means is that in those 15 constituencies, we'll be holding election congresses twice. One separate for the presidential election, which comes up on Saturday, and then the other one to come in the future.
Okay, we'll talk about the presidential shortly.
Yeah.
What policies are you developing around retaining some strategic seats that you have as a party? Have you taken a stance to protect some MPs? I mean, just for party interest's sake?
This is a very difficult question at this time that I would wish it's directed to my boss himself, but I don't have the instruction to speak to whether we are protecting a particular MP or not. But I believe that basically our MPs have demonstrated in the past, a lot of commitment. They stood for the party until recently when they took a decision to betray us or defy orders of the National Executive Committee. I think that was a big blow to us. But much as the issue is being investigated, we don't and have not taken a decision on that issue yet. It will definitely be dealt with. That I can assure you. But it will be handled differently from, not...
Mustafa, you know why I'm asking the question, yes, isn't it? Because, for instance, someone's spoken about, let's go back to the Ashanti region again, the Asawase seat, for instance. You have your immediate past minority whip facing quite a stiff contest or opposition, if I could call him that way. The fear is you may lose such an experience. Huh?
No, if you no one at the National Executive Committee is against. If you ask me, he's my brother, and I am actually supporting his bid, right, because he's a very experienced guy, and I don't think that is not in question. However, just like any other parliamentarian, they are all facing contests.
But why not come out clear? Why would the party support say, okay, we've identified 6, 7, or otherwise MPs,
the party has
and we're protecting them for strategic reasons?
No, if you did that, what you are going to have is people attacking the MPs at the constituencies. And so we want, as much as possible, to drive together every member of the party into 2024. And so instead of saying no one should contest our MPs, we believe that the situation is such that there are other constituencies where they found reason, in as much as they had people who would have contested certain MPs, they found reason to say, we will not contest our MPs, let them go unopposed. We have the Honorable Arun Edrusu going unopposed, Honorable Murtala Mohammed going unopposed, we have Honorable Sohini going unopposed, Okudzato Ablakwa is going unopposed, and a few others going unopposed. But you cannot have other constituencies standing on the same position. So we are confident that most of our members of parliament will retain their seats. We are also confident that at the end of the day, after the primaries, we'll be able to bring the party together and move on, as opposed to asking people to forcefully not contest and running the party into crisis. It's better to allow a democratic process, allow people to participate, let each one of them speak to their strengths and what they have done in their various constituencies, and then we'll proceed from there. Just as His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, everybody knows that he is one president who lost with a difference of about 1 million. He contested again and then narrowed it to about 500,000. We also saw the gap in terms of parliamentary, and within the shortest possible time,
how we've been able to close that.
And so clearly we know that this is a very strong candidate, yet we have individuals who believe that it is their right to contest election. So we've given them...
Okay, so you're trying to make it as democratic as possible.
Yes.
Now to the presidential race, since you're talking about former President John Mahama, you now have Dr. Kwabena Dufo coming out to make some claims. 54%, that's a significant number if the allegations are true, that you have over 54% of these individuals
I call it an academic research other than references from what I do know.
You don't believe any of his claims at that?
What they've put out there, what surprises me is that they had a meeting with the party just yesterday.
Oh, you had a meeting yesterday?
Yes. Last week we had a meeting. They had a meeting with the party. And again, let me state that the party is determined to give all of these individuals a level playing ground. Leadership of the party is determined to be as transparent as possible as far as being neutral is concerned, so that when we're done with the primaries, would have a united party, or would have a situation where various executives at various levels can be part of reconciliation processes that will build the strength of the party. And so all three aspirants, as far as the presidential election is concerned, have had unfettered access to the party, unfettered access to information. They were given full support in terms of anything, space, opportunity that they require. They have been given delegates list about a month and a half ago.
You've given the register to Dr. Dufour.
Yes. And let me tell you the inconsistencies. We didn't want to talk about it, but let me say it. When we started printing our ballot papers, this same Kukubo guy, who is our brother, brought agents who were in the printing room supervising the printing of ballot papers. We had another call from the same camp.
You mean the Dufour camp?
Yes,
right, okay.
Asking when we are going to start printing ballot boxes, ballot papers.
Yes.
Clearly, you have a camp that sharing information among themselves is a problem. The second issue is that when we gave them delegates list, some members of the same camp came up, Rojo specifically, came up again to ask of a delegates list. And we said, but we've given your team so and so.
Okay, so since you're bringing that up,
so clearly,
who in the Dufour camp did you give the album to?
Ukuba.
And is that the official representation of Dr. Dufour?
So I'll come to the third.
Right.
The third issue is that as of yesterday, he was all over the place that we've not given them albums.
Yes.
That is untrue. We've given them about 240 constituencies so far, and the rest would be completed today. And so the claim that some national executives are trying to rig election and that we're trying not to give them information is unfounded and
okay,
malicious.
so the album you've given to the Dufour camp, you agree, it's not the full complement?
No, it is not. Because, and what I'm saying, they have been briefed and they are aware. They had a meeting with our elections team yesterday.
So what you gave them,
as soon as they left the meeting,
is same as what you gave to the John Mahama team,
all of
same
them.
as what you gave to the Kojo Bonsu team.
Yes. As soon as they left the meeting, they put out this letter.
Albums for 240.
I said as soon as they left a meeting with us yesterday, when you look at the wording of the letter, it is as though they don't have audience with leadership at all. That is unfounded and malicious. As soon as they left a meeting with the elections committee yesterday, they put out that letter. And one claim they are making is that they have analyzed about 3,876, 3,870 something branches, polling stations. We don't have that number of polling stations. We don't have. So we don't know where they are getting their information from. Now, in this committee, in this team, is made up of a former national organizer of the party, a former national communication director of the party, in fact, a very key person in election issues, Rojo Metrinunu. You all know his role in the 2020 election.
Right.
These are key individuals who are very experienced. So it takes us aback when you hear some of the mischief they are planning to put out. To the extent that they want to attack the credibility of the party or the voice of the party to speak up on national issues. For me,
yeah, but Mustafa, if they have concerns,
indiscipline and
they need to raise the concerns. You've given them, just as you've told us, 240 constituencies.
Yes.
You agree that that's not a full complement of where the elections will take place.
I do agree.
A candidate who's fully verified for that matter by now would want to reach almost all delegates.
So the purposes of giving them a delegates list was to give them the opportunity to know the delegates for themselves.
But if you've given them just 240, how do they make up for the rest?
The album, as opposed to what we used to do in the past, is an advanced version of the delegates list under the initiatives of the national chairman, who said we should compile an album where each voter will have their
ID, right?
And so you will also agree that these exercises are in progress. And they've been briefed that at the end of today, they would have received a full complement of the number of constituencies that are going into the elections. The number of delegates they are mentioning, they took just the delegates list we gave them multiplied it by 9 from each branch, and then they got their numbers. They forgot that people who are eligible to vote for the presidential and the parliamentary election in their constituencies has to do with former ministers, former DCs, former appointees, for which Dr. Kwabena Duffuor himself is a delegate.
Yeah, so give the full compliment to the man.
Yes.
And allow him to do the full audit. Why keep the rest? You're saying it will come today.
No, they are compounding them.
Okay, so if it will come today, and it's just past 3, do we know if, for sure, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor by now
Our team
has received the full compliment?
They are meeting the national team tonight.
Okay, so you're doing your final meeting
The letter
tonight?
they put out didn't say that they were given part.
Okay.
The letter suggests that they have not been given anything. And for me, that is unfounded and untruth. So if they had said that we're giving some, we are still waiting for the rest, it's a story to stand with. They said we don't have information, and that even the information we have seen irregularities. When you see those irregularities, you have a right, you are entitled to a right to complain.
But Mustafa, it appears you're painting the picture.
At the committee that they have access to.
And I'm glad you're raising that point, because the posture you're giving us now is that almost everything is fine with the process. But we've seen some senior members of your party as well, Alex Egbefia, indicating earlier today that there are indeed challenges with the process you have, and that all of these will be trashed out at a supposed meeting, FEC or NEC. I'm not too sure of the designation.
That's exactly what we are saying.
So that meeting will happen.
Do we have 100% accurate register? No. Will aspirants complain of certain irregularities? Yes. In any election management, you have parties coming out to share their grievances, and you expect that those parties will be given a hearing. Beyond that, when individuals are engaged in malice, when they are engaged in very exercises that are fundamental to the integrity of the system that is managing the election, that is mischief.
But are you saying their concerns are not genuine?
Most of their concerns are not concerns. It's mischief.
If I use, Mustafa, you're a politician, you know this better. If you use, say, 500,000, your filing fee or so, or 50,000, you file to contest the presidential slot, and by now, the final lap of going ahead to that polls, you don't have your full complement of the album.
500,000
you wouldn't be alarmed?
500,000 is just not enough to make anybody a president. Your influence counts. Now, I'm saying that anybody saying that the fact that they don't have an album amount to not having information, and get me clear, they've been given delegates list one about a month ago. They know their delegates, but we are trying to upgrade the delegates list to make it an album where we'll further reduce the likelihood of impersonation. And we are doing this to give a more transparent process of the election. Now, what is baffling is why aspirants feel that suddenly their influence in this whole party should be the same. It will not be the same. When you are contesting an election with an incumbent, the incumbent have an advantage. When you are contesting an election with the former president of the Republic of Ghana, you don't expect that the rousing support he receives on the ground should be equal to you who have been a former minister of finance and a mayor. We have 3 aspirants. Why is it that only one aspirant is raising this on?
Yeah, but he's providing evidence to back that. Just earlier, we were putting on the screens the identical names, for instance, he's speaking about. Names that are the same, pictures the same, and yet you're changing their designation.
Nobody.
So there you have it. Inaccuracies and anomalies in the NDC. So look at this, for instance. You have the ID there, same name, Mohammed Isaka, for instance. And he's claiming that this same man has 2 different positions. You have the position of the youth organizer of the party, and then at one point, he's identified as the communications officer for the NDC.
So again, if this is not born out of malice, there is an IT department, an election directorate that continues to engage all aspirants. So if you have a challenge like this, you go through the process, submit your issues, and then you'll be given a hearing. These things can be addressed within a day. And any person that means well would know that these things are printing errors or some errors of...
There are errors? You agree that
there are errors in every
register?
There are errors in every register. There can be printing errors, there can be typographical errors, there can be errors of positioning of individuals and pictures and all of that. When you see such a thing, there are things that can easily be rectified. Like the various registers that we have sent to the constituencies. Some constituencies have identified technicalities and errors within there. They brought the attention of leadership, and then it's been rectified. So these errors, who will change few people, 5 or 10 people, just to make Dr. Kwabena Duffuor lose an election?
Mustafa, what's the constitutional requirement to be declared winner of these presidential primaries? 50% plus 1, correct?
I'm not too sure.
50% plus 1? The one with the highest, right?
The one with the highest.
Yeah, okay, all right.
The one with the highest.
So these numbers, you agree, have the potential to put someone in the lead?
The numbers are not up to 10.
Yeah, but he's saying 54%. I mean, names...
I'm saying that these errors can be corrected. They can be corrected before Saturday. So the time that they are spending sitting on the media space and casting aspersions at leadership, they should come to the committee and then those issues will be addressed. I'm saying that leadership will give them a hearing and address these issues if they are so legitimate. But again, what will be the motive of a man who have come for a meeting, fail to raise these issues, get out of the meeting and put out a letter?
They never raised any of these issues with you.
They were in a meeting yesterday, and all the issues raised, if they were speaking from disagreements from the meeting that was held yesterday, it will make sense. They are claiming that they haven't even mentioned that there was a meeting.
But at yesterday's meeting, that's when the album was given.
No, I'm saying that we have periodic meetings scheduled between...
So did you give them a new set yesterday, a new set of the album?
No, yesterday were usual briefings that would have with aspirants, communicate challenges with them. They also communicate challenges with us. And I'm saying that as soon as they left the meeting, they put out this letter.
Okay, you have another opportunity today because as you're pointing out, there will be a meeting tonight.
Yes.
Will these issues come up? Are they likely to suffer some penalties for this?
Oh, no, they will not suffer penalties. What they will suffer has to do with votes, because the grassroots members are watching, and their delegates, they are going to participate in the election on Saturday. And so leadership may not do anything which will confirm their suspicion that we are trying to rig an election in favor of one aspirant. And let me state that, and I've said it, that the influence within these 3 aspirants cannot be the same. And so for anybody, trying to have an equality in terms of influence, he's deceiving himself.
So you're saying this because of John Mahama?
No, I'm just saying that the candidates involved, they don't have the same level of influence.
Yeah, that
when you have a mayor,
John Mahama is one of the candidates,
when you have a former mayor
right?
of Kumasi in Ashanti region,
yeah,
contesting with a former president, you will not expect the same influence. When you have a former finance minister who himself was not a politician, all of a sudden wanting to be a president, and his team members knows election than any other person, including the national leadership, for which the NDC will lack the credibility to speak to national issues if we don't address their challenges, you will not dream that their influence will be the same.
Influence on executives of the party?
Influence on the party, yes.
Or executives of the party?
Their frustration is coming from the various influences, as you can see in the various campaigns. And national leadership have no hand in it. We are not supporting any candidate at all.
You have been criticized for that. Just take a look at this trend. 10 executives or more, in fact, all 16 regional executives, excluding one, as we understand, have come up openly to declare support for John Dramani Mahama.
Look,
we've not heard from the national leadership of the party. Now the Duffuor campaign is raising further issues, saying, well, look at our voters register. it's not free and fair. Try and do something about it. And you come to say that you don't have the same level of influence.
No,
are you creating?
They are not saying.
Are you indeed creating a level playing field for all these individuals?
I have not said that. They have complained that the process is not free and fair.
Yeah, but that's what Dr. Dufour is saying.
No, he is attacking the integrity of the party. And I'm saying that it's mischief in itself, the position and how...
From the way you're sounding, it appears you're not even going to consider and listen to their concerns.
I detest the issue of indiscipline from people who think that they can run the party to the cleaners. If you have a challenge, you have the issues addressed by the same party you are seeking to destroy. And what is baffling me again is that in Dr. Dufour's campaign team, you will find a former national organizer of the party, an elder of the party. Nobody is complaining. You will find a former communication director of the party. Nobody is complaining. You will find a very experienced election management officer of the party managing Dr. Dufour's campaign committee. Nobody is having a problem. When you go to Ashanti region, the Ashanti Regional Women's Organizer of the NDC is a key member of Dr. Dufour's campaign team. Nobody is fighting him on that. National executives, the general secretary of the party has been neutral in this process, has been very quiet throughout. The national chairman of the party have been very quiet in this whole process. You haven't seen me, myself, campaigning for anyone. And so to come out attacking the integrity of officers of the party, particularly when you haven't seen them act in a way that compromise their integrity, for me it's offensive
and he says
and indiscipline.
It's about credibility. If you have nothing to hide, put the election on hold, call it off, and let's have a reunification meeting.
I don't think that, yes, if there are fundamental issues that calls for elections to be held on, we will do that for good reasons. But we don't have those reasons as yet. I'm saying that if before us are very compelling reasons why elections should be held, we will do that. The same people who have written this letter, before them and the committee, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. These are people who came out 3 days ago to say that they don't have information at all. Where did they get the analysis they put?
Oh, you mean the images?
Where did they get it from? So today, I'm sure they will come back in the evening to say, oh, we've been giving some and not all. That is inconsistency. So if you want to hold somebody for equity, you must come clean. And so whilst they have not come clean, they should desist from attacking the integrity of the party. And what is more offensive is when you are trying to lamb the integrity of the party, that because you feel that you are not being treated well, the contest will treat you well.
Okay. We need to go. Any message for delegates as they head to the polls this weekend?
We have, I think my boss will be holding a press conference, a final press conference, you know, to issue the protocols and final guidelines to the elections on Saturday. One of the things that we've been speaking about is that the overall security of the election has been put in the mandate on the hands of the Ghana Police Service. Right. And so various aspirants are to take note that you are not supposed to organize anything, internal security or private security, to any center where election is being held. Any act of a sort constitutes a contravention of the guidelines of the election. And that we are aware that some people are trying to disrupt some elections, particularly in Greater Accra and Ashanti region. We have briefed the police to take note of these things. And so party members are to remain, you know, within the guidelines of the party. Go and cast your vote. We do not also want people to give T-shirts to some members of the party to come and cause confusion at voting centers. If you do that, the conduct of your supporters constitute your conduct, and that the party would have a cause to discipline such individuals. So
you may disqualify anyone who has their party T-shirts worn?
When the party meets for the purposes of considering what misconduct is, appropriate sanctions will be determined at that forum. But I'm saying that any conduct that undermines the integrity and guidelines of the party amounts to misconduct, and the party will deal with it as such.
Okay then. Mustafa Monday, it's just the start of a long week or weekend, if we may describe it as such, and we'll be seeing you in studio some more. Thank you for spending some time with us. I'm grateful. Good to see you and wish you all the best. Don't forget that we're also paying attention to the Ghana Water Company this afternoon because the company has disconnected water supply to Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited here in Accra. The company owes about 6.7 million Ghana cedis, and the regional chief manager of Accra East, the engineer Emmanuel Johnson, says that the grace period given to the company to clear its debt has elapsed without the management of the company responding.
The Ghana Water Company is part of the EGI, and we are going back and forth at PULC, and we have met in our Ghana Water Company offices on many occasions concerning the amount of money they owe us, and they need to pay. They pleaded for extension of time to make payment, and the extension of time has elapsed. We gave them 3 months notice, and it has elapsed. And so some have made payment plan with us, some are preparing to pay for the rest of the money, some are prepared to pay. And but Guinness is showing no faith to pay the tariff which have been given to the industry. And so this is the reason why we are here to disconnect them, because we have had a series of meetings. Even last week, Tuesday, we had a meeting with them, and based on that, they were supposed to meet us at 10 o'clock today and draw a payment plan with us, but they didn't turn up. They didn't give us any indication. Upon the mails that we sent them, they didn't give us any indication that they are coming.
Well, so why is the Ghana Water Company Limited running this fresh campaign, and what are they seeking to achieve at the end of the day? Joining us now is the communications manager of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Stanley Marty, who's joining us via Zoom. Thank you, sir, for your time. Now you're turning your attention to, of course, big defaulters, if I should call them that way. But what's the story of the Guinness Ghana Limited? Kindly unmute so we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, like my colleague just said, we have been having a series of meetings with them. We've given them a payment plan to follow and to settle their indebtedness. But it's like they're just taking us for granted. And so we were supposed to have a meeting today at 10 o'clock. Yesterday they were called so that we could remind them of the meeting today, and there wasn't an indication that we were going to come today. But we were still hopeful that we were going to come today at 10 o'clock, and so that whatever challenges they have, we could discuss them, and then we could see our way forward. Unfortunately, they did not make it at 10 o'clock, so we gave them up to 12 noon, and at 12 noon exactly, we had to disconnect them because we're not giving us any respect as an institution, as a company. That serves them with about the most important product or ingredients that they need for the preparation of their product.
And you say that this is just a minute part of the bigger exercise that you're running. To what end?
Yes, we started this about a couple of months ago, and we have been going around visiting not only our major customers, but every customer who owes the GWCL. We also made it clear that our customers' indebtedness to us was around 800 million Ghana cedis, and we were working around the clock to ensure that we collect all our arrears before this exercise ceases. Now, we also made it clear that we are a postpaid company, so people consume our products before they are billed at the end of the month to enable them pay. And so our arrears are always on. We admit it, but we don't expect our arrears to go beyond a certain limit. So we are working to ensure that our arrears is within a manageable and acceptable limit so that we all can work together. Now, Guinness is a business just as the Ghana Water Company Limited, and just as any commercial entity. And so as much as they need their customers to pay for their products so that they could exist and serve their customers, so do we also expect that our customers will pay their indebtedness to us so that we can also settle our arrears to our other customers. And then we all can lay afloat and then have some
I see. Are you willing to put out the names of some of the organizations you may be visiting next?
I think it would be unfair, especially if some of them are able to follow the processes that we take them through. Now, if your indebtedness is too high and a bit expensive for you to pay, we accept a payment plan. So we take a percentage, and then the rest is spread out on a payment plan. If you do not default, we don't see why we should name and shame. But if you default, then we may have to just do what we've just done to Guinness. So we have disconnected them, and we expect that they can pay their bills in full, including a reconnection fee. Then we can have them reconnected, because they need to have their business go on. So do we also need our business move on.
And there's this question facing the water company as to why you've allowed some of these persons to default to such an extent.
So I said initially that we are a postpaid company, such that our customers consume our water, and then they are billed at the end of the month before they pay. Now, we have major customers who will come around, who consume in very large volumes, and who will let you know that maybe business is not too good, or we also have some challenges. So we'll pay part of it, and then expect to pay, and they give us a payment plan, and then we'll pay the rest. And then they keep defaulting. Some will pay, and then some more arrears will come add on and all that. But we all understand that we are in business. So if we can manage what we have, whilst you also pay little, hoping to pay all your indebtedness, why not? You know, we add human face to the whole thing. But if you take us for granted, that is where the problem lies. This is a case where we have come out to say that our indebtedness is too high, okay, and then it's like it's affecting us now. So we can't just have it as business as usual. Okay, so it's very important that now you settle your bills, because if, for instance, we've given you a month to pay your bills, and then you've gone 2 months, 3 months, and we are still lenient on you, and you are not taking it seriously, then we will also have to crack the whip. And that's exactly what we've done.
And it's been days since you started this exercise. Are you beginning to see some positive results?
Yes, there are very, very positive results. I mean, yeah, you remember we disconnected DU Fresh. They were owing close to 2 million Ghana cedis. They paid everything in full, and we reconnected them to go with their business. There are several companies that have also paid, and some in part and some in full, and we've connected them, and they're going on with their business. I mean, they are customers. We have a very good relationship with all our customers, so we expect that mutual respect and mutual understanding between us. And so just pay what you have to pay. If you can't pay, just let us know. Let's have a payment plan. We are lenient enough. But for you to disrespect us, no, that's unacceptable.
And while you are on this revenue mobilization drive, you are very much aware of the reasons for which the Water Company Limited was set up. So you have some sort of a conflict in terms of what the idea is to expand access to clean water across the country, and also having to deal with the commercial aspect of it. How are you balancing all of these?
I think we have been in this business for a very long time, so we have been able to manage it effectively. And you realize that all departments are functional and functioning effectively. If there's any department that lacks any support, we all put our loins together and we ensure that we support that department to come out clean. And that is why all directors this time got involved with the collection of arrears, okay, so that we all could support the commercial and marketing department to ensure that all sales, all revenue are retrieved from our customers, that we can also move on. It is not an easy job managing a big company like Ghana Water Company Limited that oversees the entire country when it comes to supply, distribution, and the commercial aspect of water. It's a very difficult task, but we are committed to it. We work hard and to ensure that everything goes on very well. Okay, that's exactly what we are doing.
I see.
Thank you.
And I know that you have a message for the public and also the businesses that are defaulting.
Yes, we expect that as much as we do everything possible to serve our customers and to serve them well, so do we also expect that they are also going to make do with their indebtedness to us. So the way you expect your customers to pay their bills to you so that your business can remain afloat, same way the GWCL also expects that you pay us our revenue due us, because it is the same money that we invest into the system to improve on our services. It is the same money that we use in also paying our debtors. For instance, we also owe other organizations like the ECG, we owe our chemical suppliers, we owe transport, we owe parts, pump parts, and we owe a lot of people. We need to pay them. Every input that is used in the production of water, okay, is imported into this country, and we do not do that. Okay, so then it means we procure from other organizations, and we need to pay them. The pipes that we use in our extensions, the valves that we use in our distribution and everything are also manufactured by other people. They give it to us, and we need to pay them. If the money is not available, how can we pay them, and how will they continually supply us? So we are all in the same business. I mean, the businesses are all same. We all have inputs and we all have outputs. Okay, wherever it is, you have to pay, and so please pay us so that we can also pay those that we owe, and then we all can have a meaningful life in our system and help productive Ghana.
I see. We'll leave it here for now. Reconnect with you sometime later when the exercise continues. Stanley Marty, Communications Manager for the Ghana Water Company Limited. And to the harrowing story of Balbir Alan, a pensioner bondholder. Of course, he's now resorting to taking anxiety pills to manage hair panic attacks from the fear of losing another investment to a locked-up government bond. According to the bondholder, she had together with her husband lost an investment they made with microfinance company in 2018. She says the fear of losing her coupon is already weighing her down, resulting in sleepless nights.
I lived in England and I decided to return to Ghana with my white English husband. We put our money into a microfinance company. We've not got all our money back. We're still waiting to get it all back. The remaining money he had, I told him, put it in government bonds. They are safe. We've put it into government bonds. Now, nothing is coming. I sold a family property. I feed several old women. I pay school fees for several young children. They are not yet of the age where they can attend secondary school, so they can't have free SHS. We have some of the old people we look after are sick. They need medication. We cannot afford their medication, and now, what are we supposed to do? Who do we go to? The only way we survive now is on my husband's pension. He's an old man and we live off his pension. We can't pay school fees. We've started pushing some of the young children we look after aside. We support charities because we think when you take from, you work and you earn, you give something back to the society within which you live. And now the little we have to give back is taken from us. What do we do now? Who do we go to? This is my first time coming here today, all the way from the Volta region and Logan, to come and join my fellow Ghanaians to picket. Where do we go now? So we old people will come and fight here for our children, our grandchildren. And where will we end? When you listen to the news, when you see the things going on in this country, it is scary. It frightens you. What will happen to the children? The children are the youth. They are tomorrow's leaders. How do I pay them? I owe my housekeeper over 45,000 cedis for looking after the home for me, feeding the children. How do I pay her?
It sounds to me that this might be a very substantive amount of money you have invested.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I have a lot of money in it, and the interest or coupons is what was keeping all these people going.
How long has this been you've invested in the government bond?
We first invested in the microfinance. We lost most of our money. Oh gosh, I can't remember the year. It's about 2018. My husband came to Ghana 2018 and we took him, he did it. Then we lost that one. Now we went into this one. Now in this one, we've been in it 2 years only. Only 2 years, and this is what has happened. I have cousins who are having psychiatric problems. If I don't give them their medication, they will start going out on the streets screaming and shouting and stripping themselves naked. What am I supposed to do? They need their medication. It's very expensive. They need monthly hospital appointments. They need monthly blood tests because the medication they take is so high, it causes damage to the kidneys and liver. When she gets a kidney problem now, where am I going to get the money from? I have little girls, small little girls, from the age of 6 up to 14. We pay their school fees. Some of them we've stopped paying their school fees. How will they get an education? Me like this, I can go out and hustle in town. What will the children do?
What's the state of your husband now?
My husband is very unhappy with what is going on. I did not bring him with me. If I bring him with me, he will probably come and sit here and cry. I'm lucky he hasn't got any health issues. I am lucky he hasn't got health issues. But he has his UK pension, and that is what he lives off now. That is what is feeding me too. But I can't pay the children's school fees with that.
So far, how many of your coupons have matured, which government hasn't paid yet?
Mine is due in July. Yes. And my husband's was due in January. He got his. No, his was February. He got his, and I got mine in January. My next one is in July. I know if I don't come and fight, probably July, I won't get it. And I have to support my fellow Ghanaians in whatever they are doing, because the children are my children. Their children are my children. We are all in this together. So either you come and fight or you don't. And if I am able tomorrow, I'm coming. I'll bring the small children to come and let them see what is going on. Because it's not right.
If the finance minister is listening now, what will be your direct message to him?
Give me my money. Just give me my capital. What I go and do with it is my business. Give me my capital. What I do with it is my business. As for the interest, keep it. Give me my money. Whether I go and farm or I go and throw it in the gutter or I go and use it to feed my children, pay my school fees, it's my business. Give me my money. It's not yours. It's mine. I went to England. I worked hard. I came. I sold my property. You didn't help me with any of that. Where were you then? How do you take my money today? It's a loan I gave you. Give me back my money. It's mine. I love it. I love my money very, very much. I'm very attached to it. It does a lot of things for me. It does a lot of things for children. I have charities that I pay into for children. Christmas Day, when everybody was eating chicken, I was at Children's Hospital, the one at Jamestown. I was busy over there distributing gifts to the children. I took my little adopted granddaughter with me, and we were distributing gifts whilst everybody was enjoying chicken. When I went home, the leftover food, that's what I went to eat. Is that how it should be? When we are giving, then you take the little we have that we are using to help people. It is not correct. It is not correct at all. That is not how it should be. So we want our money. Give us our money. Me, I'll take my initial capital and I'll go and farm. I have a land. I will farm. I will feed my children. I'll be okay. But what of some of these other people who needed to buy medication, who don't have anything? Me, at least, I have a husband with a pension. A foreign pension, not a Ghanaian pension. If it was a Ghanaian pensioner, then this one, then I would die. This one, I'll have a heart attack or stroke, I would die. Already, I'm taking diazepam. Is it right to sleep at night because I have panic attack? My heart to start like this. Then I have to hit my chest. Then I take my diazepam. Is this right? It's not right. It's not fine at all.
And that's the reality. But the pensioners ended day 2 of their picketing at the Finance Ministry with no response from government on their demands. But convener of the pensioner bondholders, Dr. Edwana Nientwi, says they are hopeful government will address their concerns.
Yes, we confirm that payment for, I think, the early March 6, and I think 2nd March have started trickling in. And people have confirmed that they are receiving even the 13th or so. We don't have but some people have places on the platform that they have received their 13th one. So let's hope that is okay, and government is, and if government has started, fine. It should continue to pay, and until all arrears are paid, we will come here every day.
So you are hopeful now that as they have started, they will continue in that tangent?
Well, they started previously and they don't continue. That is why your paying one will not take us from here. If you pay 1 or 2 and you think because you have started paying, we will leave here. We are not going to leave. We are not going to leave until all outstanding payments are made.
When between yesterday and today as we speak, have you had any contact from any government?
No.
And we'll keep watching the space. You're watching The Pulse here on the JoyNews channel. When we get back, we have a whole lot of stories coming your way. Please stay. And good to have you here on The Pulse. The housing crisis in Ghana has become a complex issue with many contributing factors. The country is currently experiencing rapid urbanization and population growth, which has led to a shortage of affordable housing in urban areas. Additionally, there's a lack of financing options for low-income individuals and families, making it difficult for them to access affordable housing. One of the main causes of the housing crisis in Ghana is the lack of investments in the construction of affordable housing. Most of the housing that is being built is targeted towards the high-end market, leaving many of the low-income earners and families without access to sustainable housing. We hear, of course, on The Pulse today, ways by which Ghana's housing crisis can be addressed. Joining us in studio now is the Executive Assistant of JL Holdings, Dr. James Lindsay. Great to have you in studio with us, and it's such a pleasure to have you talk about this because you are the experts going into the field and knowing what our challenge is. But when you look at the landscape and what's happening across Ghana, where do you see the crisis starting from? What's your diagnosis of the problem?
Well, the crisis is straight away from the urban areas, because there are a lot of migration towards, the urban areas, obviously because of the lack of proper jobs and stuff like that. And because of that, we have also not made provisions for it. And so unless we take urgent steps, it will still continue. But then the point is, I always say, how affordable is affordable? Is it ability to pay or inability to pay? I mean, we have to find a fine balance. Yeah. So that is where the problem starts from. It starts from our lack of money or access to money to pay. Because look, if there's money to pay or money to purchase homes, I can assure you, people will be there to build it. So straight away, that's where we have find out the problems. But there are several other factors. Right. I mean, there are several other factors. See, there's no clear governmental approach to solving this problem. That's clear governmental approach. There are governmental approaches, and I can tell you, in 2005, we started this affordable housing scheme. By 2009, it has been truncated. Again, it was started again somewhere along the line in 2014, thereabout. And then, as well as I did, I do now what has happened to Sogah. Right. It's all its associated problems. So it is a clear path to solving the problem. And well, I founded JL, and I still work at JL, and as the city's leading developer, I know a bit or two about what is happening. But then, if there is no clear plans towards, creating homes, building homes to solve that problem, it will move to unsustained levels. I mean, people, some say, UN says it's 5.7 million, but then at Greta we say it's 2 million. Just look at the gap.
The numbers keep shooting.
Changing, yes. And there's no consistency. That should tell you we are not even doing anything to get
a solution
so
to it. And in fact, there are some staggering figures that we've been taking a look at. For instance, the Statistical Service has been pointing out to how the issue of affordable housing is of concern. So, for instance, here's what we have. That housing deficit as we have it now is, of course, rating somewhere around 30% of the monthly or annual incomes of a household. Most of it is spent on issues of housing. So that tells you how much it's taking. Then, for instance, you're looking at the population, for instance, the deficit, if you want to call it as such, shooting all the way from 1.7 million, somewhere in 2010, docked to 2 million. And that's troubling that it keeps growing.
It keeps growing because I say it's an artificial deficit. You know, if somebody's getting 3,000 cedis, and the rent amount is 1,500. Half of the
money is gone.
Transportation, food, children's school fees. So until we get an income that is befitting of the work we do, and also until we put in the work we are expected to put in to get the income.
Yeah.
But then who starts what first? Is it production input before you are paid well, or you are paid well before you know? So that is where we are now. Again, I keep on saying, government should play a leading role. You know, look, private developers are doing a hell lot of work, but if infrastructure is not meeting development, nobody wants to go anywhere further than a certain point. I can use Accra as a case point. Accra has an imaginary line.
Right.
Anything on the Nsawam Accra Road, anything on the left, on the right is less expensive than anything on the
right.
Right, and because we have set a certain mindset, so straight away houses on one section becomes more expensive.
Right.
Again, nobody wants to move to the outskirts of the city. In places where the city is well planned, you do satellite places, satellite towns.
Where people can just move.
Then move back. But then here again, commuting is a big
I was just about going to that. The traffic situation.
Commuting.
Yeah.
If you spend 2 hours in the morning and another 2 hours, 4 hours of your day is gone.
It's gone, yeah.
How do you survive this? So it is we need to have a complete sit down to have a proper solution to this housing problem. Otherwise, it's going to become a problem.
But why are we not talking about how most of the property management companies that we have, the real estate companies, targeting only a certain class within our space? Because the belief is it's more lucrative when you target that aspect.
It's purely financial.
Right.
It's purely financial. But then, if you see, these are businesses that needs to survive in this tough space, and it's purely you need to get your business standing and strong before you can even think about affordability.
Right.
That is why we decided last November that look, we're going to do 10,000 houses in 10 years. Half of it will be in the affordable space but then the fact is that how affordable is affordable. Look at what has happened now to material cost. Look at the cement situation.
It's gone up.
Yeah, it's gone up. Look, even now, things that we get even straight from here has gone up. Quarry dust, all because equipment and stuff that is used are becoming expensive. Quarry dust is from here for the blocks,
right.
You know. But so these are things that it has to, and you know, housing is part of a person's life. A good housing it should not be a necessity. You know, it should be something that is available.
Yeah.
And these are things that we are not looking at, and it's tough for me as a housing specialist. When I think about it, I feel sad for this.
And the situation we believe will be dire for someone who's starting out in life, for instance, because this is someone who, first of all, will have challenges with access, and even if you get one, then the pricing, the cost to it becomes a challenge.
See, but it's a mindset thing too. I mean, I should be the first to admit.
Okay.
I mean, I always preach and tell people, don't think about owning a big home all at once. Get a small house, not even a small apartment, one bedroom apartment, but fixed well.
Okay.
And then when you progress in life, You can then
change
to a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, and then if God blesses you and grace finds you, you can have a mansion. But people just set out to say, oh, I'm building my own home. Wrong concept.
Right.
Wrong. Because you put your savings in there, you can't finish. You come to, so you need to balance that. It's very key. That is why I'm saying it's a mindset change. We need to, when you go to Francophone West Africa, or where JL, we are doing businesses there, you see, they believe in the apartment concept. They believe in starting small. They believe in renting a small space and then growing. Here, you see a young lad. He just got into the financial space. He's at the bank, something. He wants to get a 3-bedroom.
Because that never-ending debate comes up in Ghana. Building or renting, which one suits best?
No, it depends on your pocket. It's very important. But it's not because I'm in the space, but I would tell you, if you try to build your own house, at the end of the day, it will cost you more because you will not get all the money to build. You would start, and then you demobilization from your construction side, mobilizing back is all cost. The time you go, there's the land tenure problems, which is affecting this particular our housing deficit because a lot of housing issues are in court and all that. So if you find a good real estate developer, you buy from the developer, I can assure you is the surest way to go. Again, one of the problems that we have that is not helping us is the fact that our secondary housing market is not really strong. Secondary housing, I mean, there are cities in this country that when you try to sell your house, the house that you're living in, they think you are broke.
Right.
Nobody will buy. It's traditional. It's ingrained in their mind. And so it's all a mindset thing, as I keep saying. If our secondary housing market is strong, a young lad could buy a small house, and then once he develops, basically in the pocket, sell and buy a big one. But the moment you say you are selling your house, straight away, it's like a stigma. So there are small things
building up into the bigger portion.
We need to work on that. We need to work on that.
Let's talk about government policy, because it's also crucial in this whole equation. We've seen, for instance, a current intervention that's been run where government is attempting to aid the youth to rent through some schemes that we have with the banking system. Do you feel that's one of the precise ways of tackling the problem? It's good, but it's too little, too late. Okay.
Too little, too late. It's good. It's a marvelous idea, but I mean the space was consulted to, but it's too little, too late. We need to do something.
I feel it should be bigger. The intervention is not
bigger.
Strong.
Look, like again, if for instance you could create something outside the city of Accra, outside the city of Kumasi, outside the city of Cape Coast, to then get people not to migrate towards the city center. Number one.
Right.
Number two, why don't we get a certain form of financing? You choose top 30, top 40 developers. See, for every luxury house you build 2 affordable units.
Right.
Something constant. But we're going to support you with, say, a bond issue. You get my point? Because look, since I came back from the UK, where I lived for a long time, and I entered the housing space, Accra is one of the cities, and I collect data is what I collect. It's one of the cities that house has appreciated for the last 25 good years.
Never coming down.
No, in 2007, I was selling houses on Spintex Road for something like 2-bedroom cemetery for $35,000. Now the same Spintex Road is $120,000. The same 2-bedroom semi-detached. This is the city of Accra. So look at such developers, bring them on board and tell them we can do A, B, C, D for you. But then for every luxury apartment you are building in cantonments, airport, Laboni,
complement it with something affordable.
And then we are throwing in this. I don't know what government can throw in, but I have an idea. But then the point is that there's several things you can do, because if we don't address the lack of housing, is one of the biggest national security problems
threats
that we have. That's going to hunt us, whichever government it is. I would offer the advice anytime I'm called upon, as I keep on doing. But I'm saying we need to have a look at it and look at it. It's not about.
And maybe it's also about the opportunities, don't you think so?
It's not really about making profit. For me, money is secondary. What matters most is what you do for your country. That's why I'm talking, and I'm talking about it. It's one of the biggest national security threats, the homeless situation. And those who have ears would have to listen.
And I was just talking about the opportunities because many are tilting towards Accra, expressing the desire to stay here because of the opportunities they'll get here. So how about relocating, planning a new city altogether? Decongesting or moving the various employment opportunities away from Accra.
That's what I'm saying. We have to create opportunities in other smaller cities and towns. That's one of the ways of doing it. No, because if you create a new city, say you go to Dodoa, as we had planned to do, and I'm sure it's still on the board, Dodoa will still be choked. If you have not solved it from the grassroots, it will be choked. So why don't we spread the opportunities? Production goes to other places. Then you can build houses. But you see, how would I be able to tell a developer, look, go and build in, say Wenchi, or go and build in, say, somewhere smaller? Why? Because the cost of material is the same. It's real estate or homes, still location 3. So the cost of cement is the same across board, or just, So I'm saying, unless you create the opportunities for people to want to stay where they are, you and I know that at other places, when you go, somebody that never wants to move from Manchester to London. What for? Because he's content.
But same cannot be said here.
No, content. Being content is one of the surest way to solve our housing problem. Being content where you are. So it is what it is.
I see. But of course, your organization is also offering some opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, we basically are doing 200 plus homes a year. But as I said, 10 years ago, we decided last November, when our 10th anniversary, we decided to do complementary affordable houses. What we do is, for every luxury home we're going to build, we're doing some apartments in the North Airport, and the rest we're going to do complementary affordable houses. But it's not enough. That's the truth.
A lot more needs to be done.
A lot more needs to be done.
Doc, I'll take your final words to our viewers, and what would you like them to know about housing?
Don't think of building or buying a big house. Cut your coats according to your size. It's one of the cardinal principles in housing. If you are starting life, start with a 1-bedroom and then graduate to the top. And then also look for a good developer and buy a house from the person. Don't go and build in, say, Ebre and try to work in Kokumlemle. When you do the maths, at the end of the day, it is too expensive.
Almost the same. Well, we need to have this conversation one more time. Dr. Lindsay, thank you for joining us here on the JoyNews channel. And to the story, the quest for the 11-year-old Gifty Odanjo to get furniture for decent education in her rural school, Bakwaba DA Primary School in the northern region, moved her to tears. She questioned why they have to stand on some hardware floors, sometimes lying on their bellies just to have an education. In the first episode, Ghana School of Shame, Season 2, Gifty makes a passionate appeal to government to solve the problem. Features editor Jojo Kobina has more in this report. And we'll be back with more on that. And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I'm Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates there for you.